Hey guys, it's Avondale, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Walls, where I take you behind the walls of the Noxcrew Gameshow. I'd like to remind you, as always, if you haven't seen today's game, make sure to click the link in the top right-hand corner of the screen so we don't spoil it for you. Now that you've had time to do that, I'm going to turn... Oh. What is this? So Landlord's here with me. Hey, how's it going, Landlord?
Hey everybody. I'm good, thanks. I'm great.
And, This sure is interesting.
Yeah, this was the actual original idea for a castle and factory back in the day. But the original concept was actually built by Nox, so this is like probably one of Nox's last proper builds, I would have thought, actually. And one of the best as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we wanted to point this out while we were here because we're going to talk about that little chunk of white wool behind us in a second, but I had mentioned this in the actual factory episode with Antlia that this was Nox's build of it, and we tried to come find it that day to record it, but we couldn't find it, and Landlord brought me here, and it was right across the street, so why not?
Yeah, this area we built... Basically, when we first were doing this idea, we wanted to build a load of 2D games, and throughout the seasons as well, there've been many 2D games, but just generally this area was...
Yeah, so you got factory in here, or castle rather, one of the early builds of it. It's not even finished.
You got the early factory as well at the left.
Yeah, the early factory I saw originally, and then there's this one that never got used. I don't really know what that was going to be called.
Let me TP to you.
If you look behind there, you'll see...
oh yeah, that's another 2D game, of course, Pyramid.
Yep, I was talking about this one right here, below you. I don't know if we ever...
yeah, no, here's another 2D game. No, we didn't use that either.
Oh, well, anyways, so speaking of 2D games, we're here today to talk about Crypt crawlers, and that's why we're in front of this white wool type of thing, because this is actually the first build, I guess.
This was what inspired Crypt crawlers. I was searching on all the leftover stuff from Gameshow, because we have so many unused games on this server, and so just sometimes it's just nice to just have a wonder and have a look at oh yeah, I remember building that, and just get some inspiration for games. And so I came across this, which was actually turned out to be Gridlock in the end, but yeah, this is basically originally just a dungeon crawler as a 2D sort of thing. I lost track of what I was going to say.
So it turned out to be Gridlock.
Yeah.
It's the same type of idea, right? It's sort of a side scroller.
Well, we found out first of all with this game, we just it was just to get to the end as fast as you can, which essentially is what Gridlock is. But when we played it through this version, we tended to find that people would just run straight past the mobs all the time. So that was when Gridlock turned into you have to collect a pressure plate in each room. It mean that you'd actually have to, most of the time, clear out all the mobs in each room. Yeah. But then I came up with the idea of a grid gimmick with the 3x3 grid, which I thought was a really neat idea. And so we scrapped this completely and decided to do it in a grid format, so that in each section we could have a different sort of biome, a different sort of area, and make it really cool.
Split it up really well.
Yeah, but then I was looking back on this, and with our new sort of Sands of Time, Python's Crypt sort of themes, I thought it'd be really nice to actually make a proper dungeon crawler, just really fast action paced in the way that this was. And so that was when Crypt Crawlers was born.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we head over there?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay, so anyways, we're here at Crypt Crawlers now, or a third of Crypt Crawlers, because the map unloads before we're even halfway through the blue side.
Yeah, this is one of the biggest maps on the game show, isn't it?
It is the biggest map. There's no way it's not the biggest
one.
And
a whole lot of redstone as well to go with it.
It was codenamed the BFGE. Which I still can't tell you what that means, but I'm sure you can guess. Yeah, Landlord.
Oh, God.
So Landlord starts making this game. I think you actually made the yellow side first, but let's go over here and we'll kind of.
This is in fact
I want to show off my thought process real quick of you building this game, right? So you build the first room, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's neat. That's a good sized room. And then you build the next room, and somebody had the idea of putting a bunch of doors vertically, and I said, well, we need to protect them. How about I make like these suits of armor that come alive when you open the door? And you were like, oh, that's sweet. And so I like went away, and I thought about that for a while. And then Landlord gets into the next room here, right? And he builds this room, and I'm thinking, okay, that's a pretty neat sized room. We must be about halfway done the game. And so I mentioned, I think I had the drop idea as well. I don't remember if that was my idea.
I don't remember where the ideas came from this game. It's just a collective sort of...
It was a lot of people working on it. But we dropped through that room. I think the zombie room was Niall's idea, actually. And we got through that, and I was like, okay, the game must be done now. And then the next room got attached on. I was like, oh, that's got to be. I mean, we're got to be in the last room now. And then, yep. And then this next room happened, and I was like, okay, that is definitely the last room. After we get through this doorway, it'll be the finish line. And I was trying to rush Landlord to get it done because I was like, look, you've already made this game too big. It's going to take me like a week to redstone it if I work nonstop. And he was like, no, it's fine. I just have one more room to build. And so I get on one day and I look, and he's built the start of this room. I was like, okay, whatever, it's his last room. And then I get on like an hour later, and it's like twice as big. And then an hour later, and it's this big. And I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, literally, this game is so big that it requires 3 people to be on the server to reset it properly. You have to have one person at each end of the course and one person standing in the middle to get all the chunks to load.
This game was quite the task. Yeah. But it was so epic. I was so pleased with how it went as well. It was
a really cool idea. When we came up with the idea that we could reveal the rooms to the camera as they were revealed to the contestants, that was just like the coolest thing, having the stone change over to glass. I really, really liked that idea.
Yeah, so this was the last game I built for Gameshow now as well.
Yeah. So, I'm sure you'll build another one in the future, but...
I should be building some more in the future.
You retired, like, right after this. And so here's an interesting point. One of the things you'll notice about some of these rooms is, like, right here, the Silverfish room has, like, a higher up area. And then, where was the... I'm trying to think. Was it directly here? Oh yeah, it was right there. You'll see that there's a chest with some green emerald blocks. So tell us a little bit about the initial idea behind that.
Yeah, so basically when you were going through this game, we wanted to give players loot drops in every room if they could find a button to get access to a room. So basically the aim was to get through it as fast as you can, but if you were to find the weapons and the armor and stuff, then it would make it a whole lot easier when you get to the later rooms, like the zombie room, for instance, and then the final ascent. You'd be able to power through them very easily. But when we were testing it, we found out that really didn't work. The detours didn't really save that much time, and it just added unnecessary confusion to this just game, which just so much is going on already. So
yeah, and that was the issue, was the confusion. Like, there was really no real way to weigh the pros and cons of going for the loot chests, and it's one of those things, like, we can't have that in game show games because the teams don't have enough time to strategize. They don't know enough about the game to strategize that, and so that was the main reason we removed it.
Also would have been quite difficult to film as well.
Yeah,
but that sort of idea maybe come back in a different game which it'd be more suited for.
Yeah. I mean, really, though, this game, making it felt more like an adventure map than an actual game show game. Like, there's respawning checkpoints.
Every room is really unique as well.
Yeah.
They're like,
There's respawning checkpoints that work with, like, a 94% success rate. I'd like to make a formal apology to Shed because this spawn point broke for them, and I don't know why it happened. It worked right every time in testing, except the time we tested it the day of. And when we tested it the day of, somebody died here and they spawned in the spawn chunk. I had to TP him back in. So we're playing this through, and I was standing in here ready to go just in case that happened, and sure enough it happened, and Luckily, I was able to teleport them back before it really affected the results of the game. With some clever editing, it might not even be obvious that they were gone, which would be nice.
Yeah.
What can you do? Bugs happen. Alright, so we've talked a little bit about how the game was made. Now we're actually going to hop inside here and, you know, the professional way, just bust right in. And we're going to talk about how the game actually played out, and we're on Shed's side because they were the victoires, and they had to win this game too. They were on the brink of elimination. So it'll be neat to actually kind of see how this game looks on the inside versus the outside.
It feels very different when you're on the inside, just like in games like Castle and Factory.
Yeah, for sure.
When you're watching it from the outside, you can very clearly see like routes where they can go, but when you're inside, it's a whole different story. It's a lot more confusing.
Yeah, they didn't see these pressure pads until they're up here.
Yeah, it's built to like be very visible and very clear what you've got to do from the outside, but not so much from the inside, which makes it quite tricky for the players.
Yeah. So we're in the first room here, we're in the silverfish room, and if we pop on these pressure plates here, the silverfish shouldn't spawn because we're in peaceful, but it did reveal the actual room down below here to the crowd. Now, here's the thing, right? The teams are told in the rules ceremony, or whatever you call it beforehand, that keep inventory is on, and it had to be because if they died with the lever, they needed to respawn with the lever, otherwise we'd be in big trouble. So blue team comes in here, and I don't know if Conflict Nerd did it on purpose, but he fell into the lava and died, and that saved them a huge headache because it's actually kind of difficult to get back out of this, as evac crew found. There's a tricky little, actually let's just break that and go down there. There's a tricky little series of parkour jumps, because you have to get, well, I guess if you were smart, you could get the chest from here, but most people just go down to find it. And then
this
after
jump
that,
is quite tricky.
There was a lot of people that missed this jump in testing, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think what happened is actually is Conflict Nerd stood here and tried to get it, and just jumped into the lava. And he's like, oh, I'm dying, I'm dying, I'm dying, and then all of a sudden he respawns up here, and they are through to the next room. And that got them a huge lead that ended up proving, I don't know if it was the decider, because they did pretty well in some later rooms as well, but they needed that buffer for one of the rooms coming up. So yeah, we get to room 2 here. We have the armor stands standing in front of the door guarding it. It was great because Zafin shouted out right when they walked in the room. He said, "Oh God, those things are going to attack us." And yeah, he was right. Okay, so anyways, they navigate this. I don't know if I want to call it a maze, but they end up getting up here. For some reason, this door's open. That's interesting. Wonder why that happened. But yeah, they got up here. They got their pressure plate. I just wanted to show off sort of what these looked like on the inside, because the way that they're designed, if you'll notice, it goes down a block in here. The reason that we did that was because when you look in through the door here, we wanted you to not be able to tell whether the ladder goes up or down. You have to actually push the button to go in. So like this one here, you'll notice it goes down a block and up a block, so you can't tell until you get inside that you don't know which way it goes. Same thing with this one. It goes down to the floor below, but you can't tell because it goes up as well. It's a neat little trick to the eye. You can't really tell from outside, but that's kind of what the contestants were faced with there. Okay, so we get into the third room, the skeleton room, and this one, the reason these ladders are even
room,
here...
This one.
You like it?
My favorite room.
Yeah. Why is it your favorite?
I just love the effect when you... Because for players, this like whole floor is here to begin with, and then... I don't know, let's put the floor back.
So we're in the skeleton room, you kill the skeletons, and then you finally see this, and I believe these ladders were here because wasn't the
there was another
button,
lever
like, here, wasn't it?
That was for one of the loots things, and the loot room was over here. If we break the wall here, you should be able to see it. This one looks really nice, actually. Yeah. A
loyal servant's reward.
Phonax did a lot of work on the loot rooms, which unfortunately we did not get to see much of. So
right.
Thanks for that, Phonax.
He did a great job.
Yeah, he did. They looked really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is definitely one of my favourite rooms. Just the effect of this lever right here for the contestants.
Yeah.
Because they're really confused what to do with here. It's like looks like there's nowhere to go in this room, and the only thing you see is this one lever. So after you've killed all the mobs, they're like, oh, I see a lever up there, and they jump up there. And then as they flick it, it didn't work.
It didn't
Never
work.
mind.
We're too far away.
Hold on a minute. You stand right in the center.
Yeah.
Of that. Okay. Alright, and just wait a second. So when they jump up and flick the lever, obviously they expect to land on the floor. So it's quite a shock when they jump up and
they just fall down through.
Fall down this massive chute of water and then suddenly attacked by guardians.
Yep. And they're just getting wrecked.
Or
sea monsters, as they called them.
You got it, drop down.
All the way. Ooh, well timed.
I think we're in the boot.
Oh, sea monster.
Oh God! Oh my goodness! How horrifying!
Monsters, yeah.
That was really funny. There was actually a couple of contestants that I think that was their first experience with Guardians was this room, if I remember correctly.
First time I saw them as well.
Yeah. Pretty neat room, and that brings us to the zombie room, which I'm sure had multiple different opinions from the viewers. Yeah. So here's the thing, right? We're standing on this pressure pad. It should have been inherently obvious to both teams that the zombies only spawn when you're on the pad, because when you walk into the room in the first place, there's no zombies, and then you touch the pad and they start. I believe evac crew figured it out because they weren't spending a lot of time on the pad. There's no way Shed clued into that, though.
They were stood on it always, pretty much. They had one guy in the center, and then one guy trying to chase them around in a circle. So they just kept coming.
And one of the interesting things to point out about this room is this iteration of it was actually the least amount of zombies we ever had spawning in here. We used to have more. We had one team when we were testing who absolutely got stuck to the fact where, like, literally there were so many zombies in here. I think I took a screenshot, and if I can find it, I'll put it up over the video here. But basically, there were so many zombies that when I did /kill at E type equals zombie to get rid of them, the game lagged for 30 seconds. And we're on 1.8, which can really handle high mob counts, so there was just over 1,000 zombies easy. It was pretty ridiculous, but we tried to cut down on it in an effort to balance it if you did get sort of a little bit overwhelmed like Shed did, but at the same time we wanted that feeling because it is a puzzle, you know?
Yeah, it's like the amount of zombies. We wanted there to be a good amount. We wanted them to actually attack you on the pressure plate and knock them off, so you'd have to actually sort it out before going for the pressure plate. But unfortunately for Shed, they just kept going on it and they just made their situation worse and worse, really.
They really did. And I think in hindsight I might have toyed around. We had the idea of putting ladders up to this instead of stairs, and I think I might have toyed around with that a little bit to keep some more of the zombies off this, because we didn't want the zombies tripping the pressure plate themselves. Yeah, I don't know. Originally there were stairs up the front and back of this as well, and the zombies were spawning themselves so much that we had to redesign it, but I think I might have explored ladders. And another thing we could have done to balance it actually is had this door right here be a death door, like at the end of Sands of Time, so if the zombies were chasing you out, they would just get killed right when they cross this door right here. Okay, and now we get into the Ascent room. I just need to clear my inventory real quick. I have so many random blocks.
No mobs room.
The no mobs room, yeah. Whoopsies.
Yeah, so this sign is here.
So here's you remember what the signs were for? I'm sure you do. You put them here.
What? I don't even know why this sign is here. I don't remember putting it here myself. I must have done though.
Landlord finished building this game, and I said, go through and tell me what needs to be in every room. So he went through and he put signs in. He said, zombles in here, and I'd have a zombles sign, and I'd have to come do it. And this was a no mobs room, and so I was like, sweet, I'll just skip to the next room, and I never broke the sign. And Shed found it, which was really, really funny to me. Whoopsies. And Joda built this room for us, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
We had like a build night where we were designing different styles of rooms, and he built like this nice organic type of parkour room, and I believe you can actually, yeah, we left the hole up to the sky as well. Oh, I fell. But you still gotta get the lever, which we both missed, so. And then good on Conflict Nerd for getting that jump first try. We had a lot of people who had trouble with this parkour room testing.
Okay, so this room was made by Niall as well as the zombie room. This room was pretty cool, where all of these were completely sealed at first, and so we wanted players, we put them in a position where we hoped that they would also be standing on the trapdoor, like in the big trapdoor room where you jumped up. Likewise in this one, that they'd just straight away drop into water, not realise what's going on, and then mobs would just fall onto them from these...
Right. And the mobs were different in every room, and you had the slime room as well that had the slimes bounce out of it. I thought that was pretty funny. It was a nice touch. It's really good effect, because when you pull that lever, the first thing it does is it spawns the mobs, and it spawns them way back here, and then it flings the door down. So, like, the door comes down, and you just see the mobs all washing out at you, and you're like, oh, God!
You want to get out of that pool as soon as you can.
Yeah, which makes you want to drop, and, yeah. So you get down here, there's different chests to sort through.
And one of them has the lever.
And apparently it's that one. And then you have this back hallway here that I wouldn't necessarily say was a regret, but it was a shame that we couldn't find a way to do that the camper could see what was going on.
It was really tricky to figure out a way to get them back up, which was visible, so unfortunately we had to make it so it was like that.
We dipped them into the back there. What do we have here? Just a bunch of random stuff in the other chests. And that brings us to the final room, the final push.
Yeah. With this room, I really wanted to make it so you could very clearly see the exit straight away, and then you just wanted to run there as fast as you can. And so this room was just basically meant to be a mad dash to the end.
Yeah, and it felt like that too as well when Shed was pushing for it. It really did.
So, like, these buttons would lift the stairs, and then you'd have to also deal with the mobs that were coming out.
Yeah.
And then you had to be really careful that you weren't knocked off the stairs as well. So if you're knocked off to this side, you'd have to go back to the lower it and then try again. So this room was a really cool one to make as well.
Yeah, and it's nicely balanced because it does. You only lose one stair if you fall off, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yep. And so they made the final push up to the end. And then they won, and that was one of the best game over reactions. You could tell that they did not want to, like, they really cared about winning.
To win that game.
And that's always really great to hear when our teams play like that.
Kill the skeletons! Kill the skeletons! Get on,
I've taken it, and is in Team Shed win the game. Very nice!
Damn, it was close though.
Okay. Now that was a good game. That was tense.
I don't think we could ever top that. In game show history, I have never seen a whole...
What do you think? Final thoughts about Crypt Crawlers?
I loved it. I thought it was great. Like, watching the episode, the teams were reacting just the way we wanted them to. It was just really fast-paced. The music for it is actually really nice as well. The music for this one was made by Digison, not me. He's another musician who does the tracks like Gridlock, Castle and Factory, other tracks like that.
And he did Super Hole in the Wall as well.
He did Super Hole in the Wall as well. Yeah, we totally link that in the description as well. That whole album's Pay What You Want on his Bandcamp page as well, so definitely check that out. Also check out, of course, the Game Show album on my Bandcamp as well.
Yeah, Noxcrew always has really nice music. It's one of the best
and of course,
things
all
about
of them
this
are royalty
community.
free as well. So just if you're looking for some music for your videos, and just go on there, download them, and then you can just use them however you want. You don't have to link anything. Just go ahead. Yeah.
We took a 20-minute episode to talk about one half of the game.
I'm sorry.
Never again, Landlord. No, it's fine. I'm convinced that we couldn't make a bigger game. Like, literally, if you look at this on the overview map, it's larger than even, like, Blockskip Beach and the scenery. Like, oh my goodness.
And even after that, it was like a flipped game. I mean, it was big enough just
we had to
like the
flip
blue
it.
side.
Oh man, and actually, that's the point. One quick thing before we go. Let's fly out here. We'll fix that behind us, and let's just drop into the redstone and take a look. I'd be so sad if we didn't get to see the overview of this. Yeah, this is as compact as I could make it. And here it is.
Yeah.
And there's smatterings of redstone all the way down the game as well. I had to have one of the additional people we had on the server sitting right here for the first 5 minutes of that game to make sure that everything triggered. So, yeah, just wow. Never again. It was a really great game, but
if we make another Crypt Crawlers, we'll figure out a way to make it a lot more smaller.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
My goodness.
I would really like to make another one of these though. I feel like the game worked really well. It was a lot of work on your part.
Yep. We'll have to find a way in the future to make it a little bit easier, though. I'm sure there's simpler things we could have done. Like, it didn't need to be this long. We could always just sort of... Like, what if it was in a grid, but like a gridlock thing, but vertically? So it was like a tic-tac-toe board in front of you. Could be kind of neat.
Who knows?
Stick around, everyone. Maybe you'll see it.
You heard it here first, Crypt Crawlers VT.
There we go. You heard it from me, surprisingly. Wow. You would think I wouldn't want it, but I do. Alright, so thanks to Epic Landlord for coming on the show, talking about Crypt Crawlers. Always glad to have you.
Awesome to be on the show again, of course.
Anytime. And I'll see you all next time. I've been Avondale. Thanks for watching.
Bye, everyone.
Made by Noxcrew. Nice. Oh.
Fantastic, yeah. This is
good.
back when Noxcrew could kind of build.
Yeah, I guess back
it's not too bad, to be honest.
I guess back in the days this would be considered a kind of build.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah.
Searching on all the leftover stuff from Game Show, because we have so many unused games on this server, and so just sometimes it's just nice to just have a wonder and have a look at like, oh yeah, I remember building that, and just get some inspiration for games. And so I came across this, which was actually turned out to be Gridlock in the end, but yeah, this is basically originally just like a dungeon crawler as a 2D sort of thing. I lost track of what I was going to say.
Great. And this sure is interesting.
Yeah, this was the actual original idea for a castle and factory back in the day. But the original concept was actually built by Nox, so this is like probably one of Nox's last proper builds, I would have thought, actually.
And one of the best as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to point this out while we were here because we're going to talk about that little chunk of white wool behind us in a second, but I had mentioned this in the actual factory episode with Antlia that this was Nox's build of it, and we tried to...
Let me TP to you.
If you look behind there, you'll see...
oh yeah, that's another 2D game, of course, Pyramid.
Yep, I was talking about this one right here, below you. I don't know if we ever...
Oh, yeah, no, here's another 2D game. No, we didn't use that either.
Oh, well, anyways, so speaking of 2D games, we're here today to talk about Crypt Crawlers, and that's why we're in front of this white wool type of thing, because this is actually the first build, I guess.
This was what inspired Crypt Crawlers. Like, I was...
Hey guys, it's Avondale, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Walls, where I take you behind the walls of the Noxcrew Gameshow. I'd like to remind you, as always, if you haven't seen today's game, make sure to click the link in the top right-hand corner of the screen so we don't spoil it for you. Now that you've had time to do that, I'm going to turn... Oh. What is this? So Landlord's here with me. Hey, how's it going, Landlord?
Hey everybody. I'm good, thanks.
Come find it that day to record it, but we couldn't find it, and... Landlord brought me here, and it was right across the street, so why not?
Yeah, this area we built... Basically, when we first were doing this idea, we wanted to build a load of 2D games, and throughout the seasons as well, there've been many 2D games, but just generally this area was...
Yeah. So you get factory in here, or castle rather, one of the early builds of it. It's not even finished.
You got the early factory as well at the left.
Yeah, the early factory I saw originally, and then there's this one that never got used. I don't really know what that was going to be called.